The wisdom of generations of women to help you have more joy every day. The Wisdom Coalition program begins right now.
Even today, when I visit my mother, she's my best friend, and when I walk in that house, it's as if I am 15 years old again.
I believe it's important to be the heart of your home as a woman.
Being a single mother, I definitely am the heart of the home, raising my kids alone for about 9 years now.
Who is the heart of your home?
Welcome to the Wisdom Coalition program. I'm Nancy Wertine.
And I'm Kim Howie. Thanks for joining us.
At the Wisdom Coalition, we like to take a look at how we can all feel better about ourselves and our lives.
And as women, we're traditionally the heart of the home, but what does that mean to each of us, and how do we embrace that role?
And let's face it, the definition of family has certainly changed. And so it's up to each of us to figure out who we are and the role we play in our own unique families.
For Rebecca, being a full-time rabbi was a dream come true. She loved everything about it, even the pace that took her away from her family much of the time. She enjoyed success and notoriety, pairing with her father to become a rare father-daughter rabbinical team. But Rebecca and her husband realized their autistic son Ben needed one of them to be home with him. Rebecca made the emotional decision to take on Ben's care and walk away from the career that was her calling.
Rebecca Shore joins us now. Thank you so much for being with us, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me. Rebecca, you say that making the decision to leave your career and be a stay-at-home mom was really life-changing for you. Can you talk a little bit about how that impacted your sense of self?
Absolutely. So I really saw myself as being a rabbi and all that entailed, and it was a labor of love. It really was. It was something I found intellectually stimulating and emotionally and spiritually fulfilling, and all of that really came to a very quick stop when I changed from being that full-time career rabbi to a full-time, what my kids like to call a house mom, because I didn't have, for example, in the beginning, that same type of intellectual stimulation. That was like the first thing that really started to erode my sense of self. I felt like I was getting stupid, actually, because I just wasn't using the same part of my brain in the same way, and emotionally and spiritually, it's not that there's not a great deal of worth in cleaning toilets and going grocery shopping and dropping off dry cleaning and things like that, but I really had to reach to try to find ways to infuse what I was doing with meaning. Whereas before, I just started my day and the meaning was there, and so it was very strange. And on top of it, we moved across the country to a community where we didn't really know anyone, and so I was no longer even really seen by the outside world as a rabbi, and I lost my mooring. I didn't know how to define myself, and it took, I would say, it was that good first year of us being here and of me not working on as a pulpit rabbi to get over sort of my own fears that I didn't know who I was anymore, that I didn't know if I still had value. Certainly I would say, an uptick in value to my family because I was around all the time, maybe too much. I learned to cook. I mean, it's possible I may have figured it out at some point, but I never had any time. I was never home. And I'm not kidding when I tell you, I really did not cook. And so now my kids make comments. My daughter said to me just the other day, I was preparing soup for a recent Jewish holiday, and she said, "Mom, you spoil us with the food that you make. It's so delicious, and it feels like liquid love." And I thought, okay, you know what? This journey and this transition and transformation is so worth it when she says something like that. And I know that I'm instilling wonderful memories for my kids of what this part of their childhood has been like.
So because you've been on both sides of the fence, though, had a thriving career and now are a stay-at-home mom, what have you learned?
that both sides are wonderful, and that both sides are filled with an incredible amount of guilt that we're not doing the other, and that regardless of what we do, I think as women we put a great deal of pressure on ourselves to be the best or perfect. And if I have one message that I've learned now from both sides, that sometimes good enough is good enough. And that's acceptable, and that's wonderful, and we need to be less critical of ourselves. Oh, I work full time, I should be spending more time with my kids, or I'm home with my kids all the day, but I am not doing anything for the greater good. There's always going to be compromise, and there are always ways to find small little tiny tributaries of adding value and adding things that we can do in the community if we're home full time. And conversely, if we're working full time, how do we sneak in those moments to be with our family?
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for your thoughts, and we'll be speaking with you again later in the show.
And remember, you can go to our website, thewisdomcoalition.com, and continue the conversation online. We'd love to hear from you.
But first, more reflections on this topic from our Well of Wisdom.
Women are an essential part of the home. We are everything. We are the base of love, the base of also morals and religion.
As a mother, and as a working mother, and as an excellent cook, I have been very busy being in command of all of those.
Welcome back. Some of the most difficult decisions we make as women come after we have children, and we have to figure out how to juggle work and childcare, or maybe we want to stay at home with our children.
Yeah, these are not easy decisions that we have to make. And studies now show that women make up almost half of the U.S. labor force, and 70% of moms are working outside the home. Our next guest is Lori O'Connor. You are Director of Employee Relations at PPL and also head of the PPL Women's Power Network. Thank you so much for being with us. We're talking about women as the heart of the home, but sometimes, I'm sure in your position at PPL, you see men are sometimes the heart of the home.
I do. And actually, even in my personal life, my husband was a stay-at-home dad, and, you know, although I would say I run the home. No. My husband, had to make decisions just like I had to make decisions about when was the right time to go back to work. And it's hard on both sides.
Yeah. Well, and how about guilt? I mean, guilt is a huge issue for women. You know, we either feel that we're working too much or we're not working enough. Do you see a lot of that in the workplace? And how do you counsel women who are feeling that guilt?
I see that all the time. So if I didn't say that I was struggling with those issues myself, I would probably not be telling you the truth. So the way that I'm able to counsel women is just by, looking at, how I sort of handled my career. And I spent the majority of my career, with children. And I made a decision to work. And that was really, really difficult. And I had guilt probably every day until even now. I find that I want to be the best person I can be. I want to do everything, and clearly you can't do that and work. And you have to sort of have give and take. And, my children were good. My children were taken care of. Their father stayed home with them for, a great part of their lives, and that's okay. And so I just try to counsel women on just really understanding that there's a rational side to this, and the rational side is your children are going to be okay. And sometimes I need people to tell me those same things.
But in that struggle, and I'm sure you do advise women about that, because as you've said, we all have that guilt. What are some of the ways that you see women struggle, fall down, and what are the ways that you see them getting back up in this?
Well, so I see them, I use a perfect example of a woman who comes back to work after being home with their baby. That is probably the hardest day a woman will ever face. For me, it was the hardest day I've ever faced. To really, you want to talk about the guilt, you want to talk about all these other feelings that we have, and to be able to work with women to get through those days. I mean, for me, I remember going back to work after I have two children, a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old, and going back to work and just being, so emotionally ill-prepared, if you will. And there was a boss that I had who left me a message that said, today is the hardest day that you will have, and it will get better. And that's the advice that I give women is just, I promise you it will get better. And you really need to look at what's right for your family. And if you can sort of help people set themselves straight as to why they make the decisions they make, it's easier to cope with those decisions.
That's great. And do you see that the workplace is changing and that women are getting the support they need?
Yes, and working for a company like PPL, a great community partner, PPL is committed to wanting people, all employees, to bring their whole self to work. And a woman, that's part of their self, this guilt that we feel, this, ability to try to maintain everything, all aspects of your home, as well as your position, as well as trying to get to soccer games and track meets and all of the other things that come with being a mom and wanting to be the best at being a mom. And so working for a company that allows me to be able to do that is very fortunate. And, we are committed to that at our organization. And, some of the things that, I encourage women to look at is look at the company that you're working for and really try to understand if they're meeting the needs. And for me, I'm fortunate that PPL does meet the needs of myself as well as other women. And, there may be companies that don't, and you sort of have to soul search.
All right, thank you so much, Lori. We'll speak with you again in a few moments.
But first, some more reflections on this topic from our well of wisdom.
In my family, it is just my husband and I. We don't have children. We're more of a partnership. I think we're both the heart of the home.
For me, I value women around me who have found that comfort in being who they are, regardless of what's going on around them. I think that that's something precious and something that as women we should help each other aspire to.
Welcome back. Lori and Rebecca join us now to continue our conversation. And when we talk about being the heart of the home, some of what comes to my mind is those domestic chores that we're not all especially fond of. So is that in either one of your definitions of the heart of the home, the domestic chores?
Not by choice. I sometimes, as I'm doing just seemingly mundane things around the house, I think that was a lot of graduate school to be sitting here cleaning a toilet, which is such a frustrating thing, those household chores, because we have to do them again that same day, tomorrow. The kids still want to be fed again day after day. We have to dishes, laundry. And one of the things that first year of not working full time really taught me was if I didn't want to feel sort of as though what I was doing had no meaning, I had to find meaning, and I had to really seek meaning. And as a person who's religiously oriented, for me, I had to try to find sacred moments in doing the seemingly mundane. And it was sometimes, honestly, even now, it's still a struggle. And even though I'm certain that my husband feels he contributes a lot in the area of household chores, it's not a 50-50 split, really, by anyone except for his calculation. And I also find, and I don't know if this is all women and men, or just in my experience, when I do the dishes or I fold laundry and put it away, I don't really expect anyone, I expect them to notice, but I don't expect positive feedback. And I find sometimes if I walk in and my husband has done a load of dishes, that there's an expectation of a medallion and a monument that I just don't feel women
That's the only way
have.
to get him to do it again.
Right, yeah, right? So yeah, for me, that heart of the home, the cooking and the cleaning and the shopping and all those things, and sometimes I love doing it because I feel like I'm providing for my family, and sometimes I resent it.
How do we manage that division of chores so that we're not feeling either overwhelmed or underappreciated?
Well, I find working, I don't have a lot of time, just like others who work as well. And, I try to get my kids to start doing things. I mean, I have children who are clearly old enough to be able to do their own chores. I find myself very, very upset with them when they don't. And by the way, that never happens. They don't ever really. But I think, you know, my attempt at trying to make them good people and prepared to, you know, I have going to college next year. She should know how to do the laundry. She should know how to clean a room, and, you know, and so we sort of split it up that way.
You know, we do sometimes get this animosity as women, right? The women who stay at home versus the women who work, right? And there can sometimes be tension. Quickly, each of you, tell me what it is that makes being the heart of the home the gift for you. Whether we're working or whether we're not working and we're working at home, I think we're usually the heart of the home. So what's the gift to you? What's the gift to you, real quickly, each of you?
The gift to me is I take a lot of pride in the things that I do. I really feel like I'm making a difference when I go to work every day. That's a gift. I hope that my kids look at what I do and you know, realize that they can pretty much do anything that they want to do, and that I'm a good role model. So I would say that that's a gift that I share.
That's wonderful.
I think I give something to my family, my children in particular, that no one else could give, and that I hope stays with them. I think it'll stay with them.
Thank you so much to both of you for joining us. And remember, you can go to our website, thewisdomcoalition.com, to join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you.
And we'll be back in just a moment from the kitchen with a power drink you will not be expecting.
When you're giving and giving and giving, because we all give, right? We want to give our love, we want to give our attention, we want to give our praise, that then the cup can get really empty if you're giving and giving and giving all the time. So you have to be able to recognize that you are giving and that you also deserve replenishment.
Welcome back. You know, when we talk about being the heart of the home, most of the time that means making healthy meals for our families.
And we all know there's nothing like homemade soup to boost your health.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about bone broth, and we have a special guest with us now. Todd Mansfield is co-founder of Core Life Eatery with a new location in Allentown. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about bone broth and why it's so good for us.
Well, I mean, bone broth has been around for as long as people have been around, right? That it used to be something that people would do. They would kill an animal, they'd put the bones in a kettle, and they'd have something along with the meat they had. But it's a lot of work. And so, you know, modern America has gone to the preservatives and the quick, you know, cup and bowl and can, and we're trying to just bring back an old-fashioned way of having a bowl of soup or a cup of soup.
Yeah, and you say that you can actually drink this bone broth as a power drink or like coffee.
That's correct. So that's one of our kind of our tags. One of the things that we do, instead of having coffee in the morning, which it's not bad to have coffee, or some coffee, having a cup of nutrition in a beef or bone broth is actually really good for you.
And you know, it is a lot of work. So I've tried to make, you know, soup from scratch, and it's a half a day ordeal, right? So we are not even going to make it today because it's so complicated. We don't have time to make it in 4 minutes. But what's so great about making it is that you have the fresh ingredients, the natural ingredients, and none of these preservatives that you're talking about.
So we make it every day. We make it actually 24 hours a day. We put baked bones, put bones and vegetables and herbs and spices into a kettle, put apple cider vinegar in, which starts to break the bones down. We simmer them from 6 to 12 hours at a time. Then we cool them, take the fat off, and then reheat them. And you've got a meal or a drink that's just loaded with everything your body really needs. It's great for your gut. It's great for your mind. It's great for your immune system. You know, people use it post-workout. The pro athletes are using it all the time for recovery and for healing. And we've got, you know, just sort of regular folks that are, you know, having trouble with illness and infection, or are going into the hospital and want to build their immune system before they have surgery.
Now, you have a nutritional background, which is interesting. You're a physical therapist and a fellowship in nutrition and metabolic medicine.
Right.
So you know a bit about nutrition and what's good for our bodies and that kind of thing. So when I hear you talking about the bone broth, is the immune system one of the main? Because our mothers always said have some chicken soup when you're sick.
I know, the old wives' tale,
Right.
which we always. Every time I hear that, I think, oh, there's great wisdom. They may not have known the biochemistry of why it was so good, but what they knew was really good for it. Yeah, it's amazing for your immune system. It's amazing for your gut. It heals all the inflammation and irritation there, which is really where your immune system comes from.
So we're going to have, instead of, we have usually a cup of tea in the kitchen, so we're going to have bone broth in the kitchen today. And I'm sorry, we don't have any for you.
It's okay. I can get it every day, and I usually do.
You know, in Core Life, you serve it in the store in sort of a soup almost, right, with other ingredients.
So people would come in and buy a salad, and if they say, hey, it's a cold day, we're in Pennsylvania or New York where it's cold, we steam the vegetables, so we soften them a little bit, and then we pour this hot broth on top of it. And it's a wonderful meal. It's a hearty meal. You can put quinoa and wild rice and rice noodle if you're looking for something a little bit more. Or if you just want a drink, we sell them in 12 ounces and then a 32-ounce container where people come in and they have it for the whole day.
Wow.
And vegetable stock too?
Yeah, we have vegetable too. So for the vegan and the vegetarian that says, I'm looking for something hot that's really healthy too, we have a vegetable kettle that we use all day long where we're kind of slowly simmering vegetables and putting those on top of vegetables so you get a double batch of all these wonderful phytonutrients that are really great for you.
All right, I'm ridiculously hungry now, so we're going to let you go.
Yes, thank you. Really, Nancy and Kim, thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for being here.
We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you for being with us.
Go out and spread some joy today.